Hey everybody, I'm Ray,
And I'm Paul.
and we are the Alconauts.
Indeed.
And this week we are joined by Clark Burnett from the Niagara Falls History Museum.
Hey, Clark.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So being from the museum in Niagara Falls, I'm sure you have a plethora of stories to tell, but we are more interested in the robust history of brewing. But before we get into that, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and the Niagara Falls Museum?
Yeah. Happy. So I've been with the museums for about 10 years now. I'm actually the manager of culture museums for the city, and I started at the museums when there was basically a hole in the ground of the new building on Ferry Street. So I got lucky to sort of be moving into Niagara Falls just as that great project was starting. Helped to open it up, and got a vast experience sort of in museums. I've got an undergraduate history at Brock University. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Knew I didn't want to teach. Decided to go in the museum field. Got my master's in museum studies in England, and came back here. Bounced around the province a little bit, but eventually ended up in Niagara Lake for 9 years. I was the curator down there in Niagara Lake, and like I said, for the past 10 years, I've been in Niagara Falls now. So that's sort of where I've been.
Well, that is awesome. That's a lot of information, and I hope we can get right into it. But before we do that, Clark, what we're going to do is I'm going to explain the process to our audience and to yourself, just to make sure we're all on the same page. So what's going to happen is we're going to take this humongous bottle of beer and crack it open, pour it into our glasses, and at that point, we're going to have a couple sips and get our initial taste. From there, we'll formulate an initial opinion. We'll have some conversations, find a little bit more about brewery in the Niagara region from Clark, and then we'll get our glass to about right near the bend, at which point we will take a couple more sips, see if our opinions are still the same, continue our conversation, find out about the robust history here in regards to beer, because that's what we're here for. And then before we hit the bottom of our glass, we're going to chug what's left of this giant bottle of beer, whether it's good or bad. So I'm looking forward to that. Ray, why don't you give everyone the tail of the tape on this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're known for doing, the craft beers and maybe these total oddball stuff from the macro breweries. But today we're going to Sleeman Brewing for this one. You'll understand why a little bit later in the show as we get into the history of brewing in Niagara. This is the Golden Festbier. It is a Marzen style lager in the Oktoberfest sort of style. It's 5.8% ABV, and it's got a unique blend of hops. I could not find the information giving me what type of hops are in this one, so hopefully we're going to be able to sort of taste what they've used here. And again, they're calling it a strong beer. It's 5.8%, like I said, and it's a Marzen lager done in the Oktoberfest style.
I'm curious to see what this tastes like, and I know this is going to tie in well with Clark. So let's crack these guys open and let's find out what this is all about.
Awesome.
Bottle opener.
All right.
It's got an oaty, kind of cereally kind of smell to it. Right off the hop.
Typically an Oktoberfest style or a Marzen style would have a bit of a malty note. So let's see what we've got here. Oh, it's quite amber.
Yeah, it is.
My bottle's making a very interesting noise.
I thought it was just me. Uh-oh. I think I need to go back to the NBPI.
National Beer Pouring Institute.
How you making out there, Clark?
I'm doing all right.
That's a beautiful pour. That looks amazing.
That is a handsome looking beer.
It is.
Got a nice golden look to it. It's got a nice head to it as well.
It does. It's thick.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's have a sip and find out what this is all about.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Oh, that's nice. That is nice. Now, I've had Sleeman's lager before, This does not taste like the regular Sleeman's lager. It's got a really nice, robust taste. It comes off the back of your tongue. I can't quite put my finger on it. I'm still getting those notes of cereal, I guess, or oats. It goes down really smooth. I'm actually enjoying it pretty good. Clark, what are your thoughts on this so far?
I'm not a lager guy. I'm more of an ale and an IPA. But I will say, like, this is probably the best Sleeman I've had ever. As I mentioned to you guys, I don't think I've had a Sleeman in about 15 years. I've tried to avoid them. But it's not bad. A little caramelly. It's crisp. It's got a bit of spice. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's definitely palpable, and it's not. I was worried that they might, take a lager and try to pump in a bit of alcohol, and all of a sudden you get that alcohol-y taste. But it's not that bad that way either.
Excellent. Ray, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's got a very robust flavor. I totally get the spice right off the start. I do notice that hop hit in the back of my throat as it's sort of an after feel. But yeah, my initial thoughts are this is a really good micro brew from a macro brewery.
It's a good shot. I've had a lot of different brands that have tried to go that route, and it's just the same old, right? So
yeah, I'm like I said, it's nice. I'm enjoying it. So I'm giving it a thumbs up so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to take my beer snob hat off. That was the hardest part when he told me it was going to be Sleeman, but I get it, so we'll go with it.
Feel free to keep the hat on. That's all good. Being a representative from Niagara Falls Museum, we brought you here because we came across a tidbit of information, and that tidbit of information was that John Sleeman actually got his start brewing in the Niagara region. Could you fill us in a little bit more about that, Clark?
Yeah, it's sort of one of those, he came here in the 1830s, and, everything in local history, it's pretty tricky to nail some stuff down, but, this has been around for a long time. I think, you see it in the 1970s, a lot of books and publications, so it's not like it's a big secret, but it's something that not a lot of people know. But John Sleeman loved Niagara. He came, like you said, he was from Cornwall. He came to Canada in the 1833. He was a brewer by trade, so he brought his trade with him. And, the idea is that you needed breweries in a province like Ontario, and, people needed access to beer. And I don't know how he found St. David's and why he came to St. David's or the Niagara region, but certainly he saw a place in St. David's. And again, it's funny. I dealt with it when I was in Niagara Lake because it's sort of a St. David's story, but it's also a Niagara Falls story. He was St. David's guy. He was living in St. David's, but technically it's in the Niagara Falls sort of boundaries. So, but he found a spring that was tied into the old Niagara River. Now, you might think St. David's isn't really on the Niagara River. And it's not, but it was at one point. Oh. The Berry Gorge actually, so right now, basically there's a Berry Gorge there. And he was able to, where he was located, tap into a buried spring. And so he had fresh water from the Niagara River, even though he was inland. Sleeman was there for a while, up until 47. There is some mention in the Sleeman family that he also tried his hand up in Lockport, New York as well. So he went over the river, and again, over the river wasn't a big deal. Trying to tap into what's going on with the Erie Canal on that side. So he's trying his hand and figuring out where he can be. The story is from the local, from the family and from history is that by 47 he wasn't loving the water quality in St. David's. The Niagara River was starting to get industrialized. He didn't feel that the spring was as pure as he wanted it to be. Didn't bother any future owners, but he sort of was looking for a place that had more pure water. So he ends up leaving in 47, heads to Guelph, takes his family there. George Sleeman, who becomes the heir to what he starts up in Guelph, is born in St. David's. Goes to St. David's with him, and they start, what I think they first called it Silver Creek there, Silver Creek
Yep.
Brewery, and eventually becomes Sleeman. George is really, it's George who really takes it to the next level. George Sleeman becomes a mogul in Guelph, becomes a huge leader in that community, grows the brewery, industrializes, modernizes, does all those things. So really grows that business into sort of what it became, and again, it went through a couple cycles over time. But John Sleeman, when he retires, comes back to St. David's with his wife and settles back in the community. So,
Really?
like I said, he was, I'm pretty sure he married a local woman, so he was tied in the community. And again, I wanted to look this up because I had heard, I believe he's buried in the cemetery in St. David's. I'm pretty sure he is. I couldn't find out sort of where, and COVID and time and everything else. I didn't get down there. I couldn't find exactly where it was, and I wasn't about to wander around a cemetery, looking for a tombstone. But I believe he's buried there as well. So again, long tradition of being tied in the Stamford, the Stamford area, the St. David's area, and what it did for his life. He just sort of fell in love with that space. And Sleeman is renowned, top 3 in Canada for brewing history, and started in St. David's. Really gave that start, and it's kind of a neat story. And another Niagara first. Sort of history almost always comes back to Niagara when it's tied into Southern Ontario. So
the most amazing part is that he came back to the Niagara region. I'm almost curious as to where his grave is. He could be like the Jim Morrison of beer in the Niagara region.
Everyone can just put a beer down beside his cemetery on his birthday or something like that. I think we need to start that.
Yeah, pick up
exactly.
Maybe not a full beer. Maybe an empty.
Yeah,
big
just
bottle.
take him a Silver Creek lager. I mean, it goes back in the history, right? So.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I don't know where you guys are in your beer. As Clark was talking, I was just enthralled. I'm past the bend here.
I'm well past the bend.
Let's have a couple sips here, and let's see if our opinions have changed in regards to this. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
And cheers, guys.
Cheers, all.
Clark, any change in your opinion in regards to the beer?
It's losing its luster as I keep going, to be honest. It's not bad. It's still not bad. It's drinkable. It's palpable, and it doesn't, it doesn't taste like a Silver Creek. It doesn't taste like the honey, what's it, the honey?
Honey Brown?
The other one?
Honey Brown and Red
Honey
Cream
Brown, that's right. All that caramel and corn syrup goodness.
Yep.
But it's still drinkable for sure. It's not bad. So it's losing its luster as I keep going, I will say.
Gotcha. Okay, Ray, what do you thinking, Ray?
Yeah, I'm finding the spice is really building up as I drink more. The spice flavor just is staying on my palate, but also the hoppiness is building, and it seems to be a little more prevalent. But it's a little metallic to me. The hoppiness that's here. So, and I'm not sure what gives that. I'm not a real hops expert. I've been trying to research hops a little bit. I'm pretty good at picking out like a Citra hops or Galaxy hops or some of the more common ones that we're seeing a lot of. But this one it's odd. I'm still enjoying it though.
I'm actually enjoying this. It's subtle. It's as a light beer drinker, I've got enough hops in there that I can taste it, but it's not overbearing. It's going down very smoothly. I'm enjoying this. I actually am enjoying this Festbier, Golden Festbier. So I'm gonna top myself up
the
while
only
we're
thing
at
I
it.
ask is a lager has some flavor. I just asked a lager to have flavor, and it's actually got a bit of flavor. So it's doing that type of heavy lifting. So that's not bad.
Yeah, I've had a couple of Marzens, and the multi spicy seems to be the characteristic that makes a Marzen style of a lager. And yeah, they've definitely they haven't over punched that to make it offensive. So
Moving along the robust history of Niagara region in terms of brewery. I also heard that the Niagara Falls Museum is located on or close to where a previous brewery used to be. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So right across the road. So if people don't know where we are, we're sort of in the intersection of Main and Ferry and Niagara Falls. Sort of as you're driving away from Niagara Falls and head towards Lundy's Lane, we're sort of heading up the hill. And right across the road from where we are, the old Stamford Township Hall, is where the Russell Brewery was, or also known as the Drummerville Brewery. And again, another early brewery. The first brewery that we can sort of track down for Niagara Falls is actually 1819. A gentleman by the name of Hollowell sort of started a brewery. Before that, probably people were brewing beer as they could. William Russell comes to Niagara. He's a contractor, no brewing history apparently in his background. But again, people need to drink. By the 1840s, beer was becoming available, and taverns were popping up all over the place, and you needed to serve. Someone needed to supply the chain, and so he decided in Niagara Falls, in Drummondville, he starts up this brewery. Like I said, called Drummerville Brewery, right beside his house that he had on the lane or on Ferry Street, and was the biggest employer in the town. It became a major mover. He sold a couple times, but the stats we have on his place, it sounds impressive when you hear it's 20,000 gallons of beer that he's producing on that property. So
wow, that's a lot.
He's pumping it out, and it says it's lagered ale, which again I find very interesting. Lager, becomes that German tradition, but he seems to be doing lager at a little bit earlier stage than what I believe to be known across the province at a different stage. So, and again, the interesting point was again access to water. So in that area, there is, if you know the neighborhood at all, there's Spring Street. And Spring Street is called Spring Street because there's a spring. Oh. And so therefore, basically in his backyard, he had a spring. And, again, no brewing background, but he says, he probably says, what do I do with this? And how do I turn that water into gold type of thing? And literally water into gold. So
there's a tavern just up the hill from where the museum is. And it's got a bit of a storied history. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? I'm sure our audience would like to know about this place.
Yeah, we love our little tavern. It's called the Battleground Hotel. It's, some people locally refer to it as Frelick's Tavern, but it was called Battleground Hotel for a longer time, and we operate as a museum. It's been fully restored to the 1850s. And really, it's a fabulous little jewel. It's a awkward little place to get to because we have no parking on site, and that's deliberate. Not great, but deliberate. Not great for a museum not to have a parking lot, but there's lots of parking in the neighborhood. And it was built. It's really interesting because it ties in a lot of different things, and it ties in history of tourism, history of the battlefield, and it tells the sort of the tavern story, right? So. It was built, as a home, we believe, but very quickly turned into a tavern. And this is a way to entertain people when they came to visit the battlefield. And so you make some money while they're visiting the Lundy's Lane battlefield. The Lundy's Lane battlefield was a renowned battlefield back, in the 1830s, 1840s. And sorry, the beer's coming. 1830s and 40s, people were visiting the battlefield. Americans, this is pre-Civil War. So you think about that. Before the Civil War, what American battlefields did they go to celebrate their history? And Lundy's Lane, when you visit Niagara Falls, you go to the Lundy's Lane battlefield. So Gold Niagara Falls has to find a way to tap into that. So people are building taverns, they're building towers on the property so you can have a vista of the battlefield. And the tavern was one of those. And so about 20 odd years ago, it was donated to the city of Niagara Falls, and it's been converted into a museum where we talk about that tourism history. We talk about the War of 1812. We talk about the battlefield, and we talk about tavern life. And so it is restored as a tavern. It's, again, being Niagara Falls, it's unique. It's not a typical tavern because it was really, a house that was used for dealing with tourists and maybe selling a few beers on the way. Taverns at the time, though, we do talk about that because taverns were a center of a community, of the social life of a community. That's why it becomes a public house. It's some communities had a pub before they had a church. So if you're doing music lessons, you might do it at a pub. If you're doing, if you're meeting because you want to, somebody's cows are drifting into your field and you have a problem with that, you're going to a pub and talking to the locals and having meetings and congregations and other things.
Wow.
Like I said, on Sundays, they shut the tavern down and you do piano lessons or dance lessons or other things. So we talk about that part of it and the sort of the social aspect of a tavern and what it was like in the 1830s, 40s, and 50s. Even though that tavern wasn't quite that, but it still is a neat sort of way to sort of tie in social history of the time.
And that's really interesting. The fact that you would go to a tavern to have social interaction on different levels, whether it be teaching a lesson or just a plethora of different things. It just dumbfounds me. It's like the social media of the time.
It's a town center. It's a town hall. It's where you come.
Yeah, most people think pub. They don't make that connection to it. Actually stands for public house, which is, that's where that came from, right?
Oh,
So
is that where it came from? I did not know that at all.
Yeah.
I don't know where you guys are, but I think I can. I've got enough in my beer that I think I'm ready to do the chug.
Oh, I got to catch up then.
Where are you, Ray? Is that all of your beer?
That's all of it.
And I was the one talking the whole time.
I think I'm ready for the chug right now.
All right, where are you at?
Where are you at, Clark?
That's all you've got left, man.
I'm there.
Wow.
That's all I got left.
Well, Clark's gonna win, so.
Wow. Evidently, you're enjoying this more than we are. You know what? Let's do this. Let's do the chug.
All right, let's
Ray,
do it.
explain the rules to Clark and our audience.
All right, so I'm gonna count us down from 3. After I say 1, I will say go. At such time, we will drink this beer down as quickly as possible. First person with their glass back to the table wins the chug. There will be
Fair
no
enough.
consequences this evening because,
I didn't know it was a contest. I'm glad I got this far in.
well, we told you to watch the show. That's okay. That's okay. So I think I'm gonna lose one. So I'll be 12-2.
I don't know. I think you got enough. I think you've drank enough that you can still keep up with me.
Oh, I'll definitely beat you. So 3, 2, 1, go.
How do I keep spilling
Paul's wearing that
all over
one.
myself? I can't believe you beat me.
Yeah, and it's all gone.
Man, it's all over my shirt. Oh. Oh,
You can
goodness
dress him up, but you
gracious.
can't take him out, Clark.
No. Ray, why don't you give us your final opinion and your final score there, Ray?
Yeah, as a beer that I just chugged, that spice it gets really, really strong as you're chugging that back. Not a comfortable beer to chug. It's still quite carbonated at this point, which again made it difficult, and I'm feeling it like right here, right now. The hoppiness really, really became apparent during the chug, and it's still sitting on the back of my tongue right now. Oh, pardon me.
That's kind of where I'm at.
I think I would probably buy this beer again if it weren't $9 a bottle. So at $8.95 a bottle, I think it's a little bit steep. But it was really nice for something different. Because that is what we do. I had never seen this before. I drove all the way to Dunnville, or actually it was Cayuga, to pick these up.
Cayuga. Yeah.
I was up in that area anyways, so not that big a deal. But there were 11 bottles of it there, and I couldn't find it anywhere else that was reasonably close. And the guy wanted me to buy all 11 bottles.
No deal, eh? No deal.
No, I bought the 3. I would buy it again. I don't think I would stock this in my fridge. It's definitely on a score out of 5. It's a 3.5 for me.
3.5?
Yeah.
Okay. Clark, what do you think about the beer?
I was actually a lot of similar to Ray, and again, I think I've talked more about the delicacies of this beer than I have in any other beer. I usually say I like it or I don't like it. But out of 5, I was landing about the 3.5 is sort of where I was landing. Again, the carbonation's getting to me big time right now. And again, on a summer day, maybe like they're promoting it sort of a winter, Oktoberfest beer. I'm not sure, but I think in the summertime I wouldn't mind. Yeah, but again, at $9, I think there's a much more sophisticated bottles that I'm buying at $9 a shot. So yeah, 3.5 out of 5. Again, I think I give them kudos for doing something a little bit more interesting than outside the box than they typically do. So
Interesting.
That's good.
Okay. Personally, I actually enjoyed it. My bottle was ice cold. So I know these guys are talking about carbonation. I didn't feel the carbonation at all when I was drinking this. You get a hint of hoppiness. You get a hint of a dryness to the taste. There's a little bit of oat or cereal to it. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I'm actually surprised these guys gave a lower score. I'm actually going to give this a 4. I would buy this. This is the same price as a bottle of wine. And you know what? If my wife's going to have a bottle of wine for $9, I'm going to have a bottle of beer for $9. Same consumption levels. Her alcohol level is going to be higher. This is only coming in at 5.8. But yeah, this is I'm enjoying this. I give it a 4. So with that being said, Clark, man, you just blew my mind today with the information that came out of your mouth. God, it was you know what? I think more people should go to the museum more often because there's just so much information people need to know, and you have brought just a tidbit of it, and it was just absolutely fantastic. So we want to thank you for being on our show, and at this point, we want to give you the floor. Let us know what the Niagara Falls Museum is up to this year, what kind of events are coming up, and how can people enjoy the richness of the knowledge that is available there.
And so we do lots of different things sort of on Thursdays, and it's all over the place, but I think that's what makes community museums fun, is we can talk about, you know, a whole lot of everything, and whatever is interesting we feel is important or relevant to the community we deal with. And again, as you mentioned, I think at the top, you know, spring break is coming. It's not March break, it's spring break, right, this year. And for spring break this year, we're, again, doing a lot of virtual stuff. Working with Mad Science, so people can sign their kids up to do some fun Mad Science activities at home. And the other thing the team put together is a scavenger hunt. Sorry, the carbonation is really killing me sometimes. A scavenger hunt. So it's a drive around scavenger hunt, sort of find some local history tidbits that you might not know about. Maybe you did, but you know, go around the community and sort of explore Niagara Falls in a different way and see some new things. So we put that together. So, you know, we've got a lot of different things. Our website has tons of information. I think that's how you guys found us.
Yep.
We've got tons of content on the website. Stanford Springs Brewery, a bit more history is there. A bit of history on Russell Brewery is there too. There's lots of material there. We put together a great virtual exhibition last summer, dropped just as the pandemic was hitting, working with our Indigenous community locally to explore sort of the Indigenous history of Niagara Falls, called Empathic Traditions. So again, we're all over the place, but that's a great thing, right? That's why I love museums. We can be all over the place. We can sort of, you know, we can try and sort of adapt to what the times are, but also, you know, brewing history is sort of something you ask us about and we want to deal with. Hey, that's fine. And beer and history are sort of my, you know, sort of my sweet spot. So really happy to sort of talk about that today.
Oh, that's awesome.
That is awesome.
That's
Well,
awesome.
Clark, we definitely want to thank you for being on our show. It has been absolutely educational. And with that being said, I am Paul.
And I'm Ray.
And this is Clark from the Niagara Falls Museum. And we are the Alconauts.
Cheers, all.
Take care.
Take care.